Hi guys, my name is Lexi. Welcome back to my channel. And as you can see, I am back in my house because it is super hot outside. It's already 100 degrees and it's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's supposed to be 110 today. So I did not want to sit in my car in this heat. So we'll see how this goes. But anyway, I have a lot to report, I feel like, because I haven't actually filmed for a couple of weeks because I filmed before I left on my trip the last time. So it's been a couple weeks of just things that I've been processing. So bear with me. I'm going to try and kind of stay on track and stay concise. I have some notes that I won't be looking down at. But anyway, first of all, after my trip, how much did I gain? Okay, so when I got back, I left Friday morning and came back on Wednesday evening. So Thursday morning, I really didn't want to get on the scale, but for you guys and for recording purposes, I did it. And so what was it? All right, so Friday, July 3rd, before I left on my trip, I was at 176.7, which already was up from my low and my goal weight. And I'll get into that later about that week before I left on my trip. My weight was up that week. This was after taking a little staycation here in town. So that did play into it, some other things that I'll go into later. But yeah, so I was already kind of up on the scale before I left on my trip. And when I got back, and just to reiterate, my goal weight was 175. My lowest is 174.1. And I'm 5'11". So just to recap all that information. But anyway, so Thursday, July 9th, when I stepped on the scale, after 6 days of eating, and I was eating all day. I kind of set out in my mind that I would at least keep within a 12-hour window on my trip, and I definitely did that quite easily. I'd say I was somewhere between 9 and 12 hours every day on my trip. Anyway, I was at 185.0 on Thursday. Okay, so that is, let's see, let's do some math. Okay, so 185 would be 8, I hope I'm gonna say this right, but yeah, so 8.3 pounds up from what I was from when I left, the 176.7. Sorry if I'm doing this math wrong, doing it on the fly, but and then I would be 10 pounds up from my goal and 10.9 pounds up from my low. Okay, I actually was okay with that 185 number, because honestly, I was just really hoping not to be in the 190s. I was like, I just don't want to see the 190s again, okay? Because the 180s I'm gonna see quite frequently, honestly, for a while, maybe even indefinitely after trips and things, but even just after a regular weekend, I am still kind of bumping into the 180s. So yeah, I was okay with that, honestly. But I do have some work to do to get back down. But here's the thing, and this is huge for me. Actually, when I weighed myself on Thursday, I did not freak out. I was like, okay, and I'm gonna eat today. It was an eat day, Thursday, so I actually ate for 7 days in a row because I decided this time, and I've made different decisions in the past, and I think that's totally fine. You can do whatever you feel is right at the time. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get back on my normal schedule. So Thursday was an eat day, and I ate for 7 days in a row, which was a totally new thing for me. I'm trying to really kind of veer off of that diet brain where I have to punish myself or make up for variations that I've made along the way. I'm really trying to kind of break free of that mentality. So anyway, I went ahead and ate. So after 7 eat days, I weighed myself again on Friday and I was at 185.6. Okay, so as you can see, that's only a 0.6 pound gain from the day before. So really, you're not going to gain at a consistent rate. Like after an eat day, normally I will gain anywhere from, I don't know, honestly, it ranges, but anywhere from like 1 to 2.5 pounds on a normal day, and 1 would be a very unusual, kind of a low gain. So yeah, like 0.6 pounds is no big deal at all. So at that point, you know, I was 0.6 pounds more up from the day before. Saturday, after my first fasting day, I was at 181.0. So that was a 4.6 pound drop from one day of fasting. I could feel myself releasing a lot of water. I knew I was retaining a lot of water, and that's definitely what happens when you gain quickly, is when you start to lose, you're gonna release a lot of that water weight at first. Okay, so how did I feel eating for 7 days? Well, not that great, honestly. So here's what happened. The first days 1 through 3, I felt totally fine. I just felt normal. I felt great. And then day 4, I started kind of feeling like a little bit of indigestion, some like stomach cramping, and it kind of just persisted and stayed with me for the next few days. And at times it got kind of worse, and I started to feel more like, it kind of felt like menstrual cramps, honestly, but it wasn't that time of the month. So I was like, okay, what's going on? I thought it would be like something that would end in like a dramatic episode, but it didn't. It just kind of like stayed with me. And honestly, after like sitting with it for a few days, it felt more like, you know, like I said, it felt like menstrual cramping, but I also kind of felt it in my lower back. And I started after a while, like by the time I got home and I was still feeling it, I started to worry a little bit. I thought maybe, you know, it could be something more serious. Like I was thinking kidney stones or a twisted ovary or appendicitis or any of those kind of lower abdominal issues. But I didn't have any other symptoms going along with it. I had no temperature. I wasn't feeling nauseous. I wasn't, you know, anything else. And so I just kind of was like waiting to see, because I didn't want to go to the ER, especially right now with everything going on. And so I was just kind of waiting to see. I honestly felt better on Friday when I fasted. So that was a good sign. It was kind of just like, okay, my body wants to get back into fasting. And then I ate Saturday and Sunday for the weekend. So it kind of stayed with me a little bit, but it has gotten better at this point. This is Monday of the next week. So I'm feeling okay about it. I feel like it really was just like indigestion and kind of like trapped gas down there, honestly. And the thing that I feel like that I wanted to talk about today really quick is just food sensitivities. And over my vacation and the staycation before my vacation, the weekend before my vacation, I kind of did eat a lot of foods that I know don't agree with me. So back in 2012, right after I had my third baby, he had a lot of allergies. I discovered this as I was nursing him. I had to cut out a lot of foods to help him feel better. And what happened in that time is I was kind of doing an elimination diet. So I started out with basically eating like rice and chicken, and that was it. And I added things slowly back in, and I noticed how it affected him, but I also noticed how it affected me. So at that point, I learned a lot of things, a lot of foods that I am sensitive to. Number 1 and 2 being cinnamon and oats, which I was eating all the time back then. And I had a lot of inflammation. I had joint pain. I had a lot of brain fog. I had, I would get constant ear infections like as an adult. And so I discovered this and other things there's like a list of things that I know, ranging in severity of how they affect me. But so I learned this about myself during that time. And there were a few foods that I ate over the past week and a half that I'm nearly positive just in combination, eating those things definitely affected my body. And I think it's a really important thing for everyone to kind of discover about themselves is whether or not you have food sensitivities. If you're having constant like digestive issues, bloating, or inflammation like joint pain, or if you're having a really hard time releasing weight, then this can definitely be a factor. So I think with alternate day fasting, it's a lot easier to recognize these things because you're having a day in between where you're taking a break from what you're eating. So it's just easier to notice. You can do an elimination diet, but I think, again, that would be tougher with alternate day fasting. So what I would honestly do is just kind of take like a food diary. And if you think you're having issues, just write down what you ate, how you felt the next day, how it affected like weight fluctuations or bloating or things like that, and just kind of pay attention. I think that's a really valuable thing for everyone to do, honestly. So as I said, my weight was up before I even left on my trip. When I was on my staycation, we ate some Chinese food, which was delicious, but one of my food sensitivities is soy. And so there was a lot of soy in that. I also ate some pepperonis off of my kids' pizza, which I don't do well with as well. And so I think, and I was at that point, I was on my period. I got a sunburn while we were gone. So all of those things kind of played into me not feeling very well that week before I left. And also I was retaining some weight, I'm positive, because of some of those things. And then when I was on my trip, I didn't eat as many things as that bothered me, but there were some things. My dad had peanut M&Ms sitting out just in a candy dish, which we do not do at my house because I have 4 boys, and that would just not even work at all. But so I just kept eating them, and peanuts and peanut butter, unfortunately, which I absolutely love, they don't agree with me that well, so I do try to limit that. And then my stepmom was making this absolutely delicious homemade wheat bread every day, and I ate like 4 pieces every day while I was at my dad's house. And I am okay with the wheat, but I think like yeasted breads don't agree with me, especially when I'm eating a large quantity like that. And so that definitely affected me, not to mention just eating every day, eating a lot, like the social aspect and everything. And I feel like I learned a lot as far as, so when I'm at home and I'm in my own environment, like my control over what I'm eating is so much better now than it ever was. But when I'm in this new situation, like I haven't been to my dad's in 2 years. And so this was a new situation in my fasting universe, so you have to realize that things don't always go as planned when it's a new situation. You kind of have to learn over time when you have these repeated experiences how to handle them. And so I would say, overeat at times. Like I didn't go too crazy, but yeah, like, when you're like around some people and there's food just like available constantly, sometimes it's harder to navigate those situations. And I think it's okay. And even though I didn't feel great, I am so glad I did this because it really was a learning experience for me. And I don't know, like, would I do it again? I'm not sure. I think I would have really benefited from a fasting day somewhere in there, but I don't know where I would have fit it in, you know what I mean? So I think I honestly would just be more aware of how much and what I'm eating when I'm on vacation rather than try to do a fasting day. But if I could fit a fasting day in, that might not be a bad idea as far as like how I would feel overall. I think it might have helped me to feel better. So, but I also wanted to mention just that I had been listening to the Intermittent Fasting Stories podcast a lot, And one of the things that I listened to on there, I think it was episode 22, and it was JJ, and it was a great interview. Honestly, all of them are. They're so fantastic. This is the Jen Stevens podcast where she interviews people who have been doing intermittent fasting. So this guy, JJ, he had been doing intermittent fasting for 2 years, and a comment that he made was, like, don't give up. And if you're a year in, you're just getting started. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm feeling. Like, this is such a learning journey, and it is a lifelong journey for me. Like, I am committed to fasting. I think it is so good for me as a whole that, like, I'm gonna keep fasting, and I'm okay with these learning experiences and whatnot. And then Jen said as well in another interview that she was glad she allowed herself to have vacation experiences where she just, relaxed the rules and allowed herself to eat all day, because it helped her to recognize how good she feels normally compared to that, and how grateful she is for fasting. And that's how I feel too. Like, I don't want to eat every day anymore, at least all day. And it didn't feel that good. So I'm glad I did it. And it didn't hurt me. Like, I did have those issues, those digestive issues, but it wasn't debilitating or anything. It wasn't like it ruined my life. It was just kind of like a good contrast for me to learn and to experience the difference there. So I can appreciate that. And basically that's it. I will update you guys next week as far as how the coming back down went. I will also mention that I've had experiences like this before. Back when I went to Disneyland in March, I gained 9.2 pounds in 4 days, and I lost 9.4 pounds by that Saturday. So I've had these experiences before, not quite this magnitude. I do expect it will take a little longer. I don't know how long, but somewhere between maybe 2 and 3 weeks to get back down to my goal weight, I'm hoping. And I have pretty good hope for that, like pretty good faith. We'll see. So stick with me and just see how it goes. I hope everything's going well with you, and let me know how you're doing, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.